Okay, so we had some exciting news today that the General Catalyst Synthetic Agent Program for Lemonade is going to be renewed through the end of 2025 for an extra $140 million of funding that's available. Exciting news because you can only assume things are going well so far for the program, and that even maybe would assume that Lemonade really plans to put the pedal to the metal for growth for 2024, 2025. We don't have any guidance from management yet, but this might be a little bit of a signal saying, hey, the program's going well. We think they're going to really push for growth in the next few years, especially now that rates are coming more online with the type of rates that they want to acquire customers at that they be paying. But I want to do some quick analysis of what this might mean for my Lemonade model for the next couple years. Not to go through every single detail, but give you guys the quick analysis of what this means, because if they really push for pedal to the metal growth, it's pretty significant in the amount of premiums we could be generating for Lemonade and the number of customers they could be hitting pretty quickly. So I wrote this tweet out on Twitter or X here just a little bit ago, and it said, how many customers might Lemonade end 2024 with? Some quick analysis. So I'm going to run through this analysis for you guys, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper what that could mean for the number of customers, also the premium per customer, and of course the premiums for Lemonade for 2024, 2025. So let's assume they use all 150 million of the current program till the end of this year. They just go max growth. This does assume they try and, they really push for maximum growth and they do spend all that money. Might not necessarily be the case, so this might be slightly optimistic that way, but we're going to shoot for that. And they used 9.3 million in Q3. We know that, so they have 140 million left till the end of this year, 2024. And if the 80% of their CAC funding is from that program, that means that in total, if they go, full out growth, they might be spending 176 million in Q4 already spent, and then, the rest of this year. So 176 million kind of in total CAC spend all the way to the end of this year. They ended Q3 with 1.98 million customers there, and they'll probably, I'm going to guess they'll churn maybe 450,000 customers from Q3 over to the end of this year. That's 2 million customers, about times by about 18% churn rate, which I've calculated in my Lemonade model. I've reviewed that a bunch of times. And then over about 1.25 years or 5 quarters. So that gets you 450,000 customers that are churning away of your 2 million. You have to regain those. And then on top of that is where you have your sort of net increase in customers. So, but the biggest question for me is, what's the CAC cost going to be? So it's been, Lemonade's even, I think, said this in some interviews. It's been about $100 per customer. But my assumption is they'll start to go after more home, product customers and car product customers, and they're going to be more competitive products where you're fighting an ad spend and you're trying to convince people to join you and come to your side. So they'll probably pay more in CAC for these customers. So your CAC could rise. Also, because their prices in general are going to be higher, maybe it's just less of a slam dunk, obvious choice. Someone finds them and chooses them, so they might pay more in general to attract the same customer as well. So another reason CAC should rise. So if they have 1.98 million, they churning 450, and then that means there's like 1.53 million at the end of this year, 2024. And plus whatever's gained from the 176 million in marketing spends. Hopefully all that, the logic of that is making sense. You guys are tracking. And then for various CACs, so say it's as low as 100, you could end the year at 3.3 million customers. Like, just massive growth over where we were. So go from 2 million to 3 million. Or 3.3 million, like 3 million plus, massive growth. If you go, of course, 125, 2.9, 150, 2.7, 175, 2.5, 200, 2.4. So it obviously, I kind of explain here, really varies, and they're always going to be, in my opinion, they're always going to be going for those renters and those pet customers that they know are very profitable. They serve them super efficiently, so they can handle them and compete against other legacy insurers and compete really against those less loved markets, those smaller premium products. So they're always going to be fighting for those and really scooping that up. But there's only going to be, in the markets they're in, there's only going to be so much sort of what I call the low-hanging fruit, where there's customers in any given quarter. There's people that are like, yeah, I'm moving and I need a renter's policy, or I have just got a pet and I want to insure them, or my pet policy is up for renewal and I want to rechange my coverage, etc. So there's only so many of those people, and that sort of group, that low-hanging fruit, is constantly changing as that turnover of customers buys a product and is satisfied, and then is no longer shopping around for that product. So that's sort of a low-hanging fruit cyclical thing that's constantly changing. So depending on the number of markets you're in, you can be scooping up those customers. But then after that, my guess is, hey, they have the pricing right for car, they have the pricing right for home, so they're going to start scooping up home and car customers, but they're going to be paying more to get those customers because now they're fighting against bigger insurers that are really also fighting in that same place. So that's sort of my guess. I'm going to say, put into my analysis here, I'm going to say they end with something around $140 of CAC average and 2.75 million customers. So it's somewhere in between this spot. So if we jump over to my model and just remember, hey, 2.75 million customers and $140 in CAC. So the end of 2024, we'll start there. I've got about 2.75 million customers. You can kind of see the growth between end of Q3 and then we're talking like over 770,000 customer increase. So it's a massive, it would be a massive year if Lemonade really does go this route. And if they guide for anything like this or even conservative off of this, like it could be a really massive Q4 results coming up, because this would be insane amount of customer growth. But I think the numbers are there, and it's possible that this actually happens. Now, the next question is, okay, so 2.75 million, that's cool, but what about the premium per customer? What are they going to be at for the premium per customer? And I have a little bit of analysis there. I'll just pull up the window and walk through that. I didn't tweet this out, but a little bit of just was thinking through this. We'll just look at 2024 to start with, and we'll go down 2025 below. With 2024, they said there's gonna in their Q3 letter, they said there's probably about 100 million coming in premiums just on the current book of business. So they're adding about 100 just from rate increases. They said about 100 million plus in premiums. In my previous video, I was sort of the way the paragraph in that letter was worded, I was thinking maybe it was like 220. Actually, I haven't got any answer from Lemonade management yet, hoping I still do. But I'm thinking it's more likely just some of the feedback I heard from Demeen, sorry, I'm saying your name wrong again, Demeen and others on Twitter. I think it's probably more likely the 100 million. So if we assume it's 100 million and say that's over 2 million customers that they have, currently, that's about a $50 per customer in premium per customer rate increase. So just from that amount of premium, that's just going from average person's paying about $50 more per year just from their rate increases. Makes sense. So you go from 362 to 412 premium per customer just from that rate increase. Now let's assume they go from 2 million at the end of this year to 2.75 million end of 2024, like we're sort of assuming what their growth could potentially be. Of the 750,000 customer increase, this is a bit of a shot in the dark and could definitely affect things, but we have to take a stab at it. So we say there's 150,000, right, of the 750,000 you're gaining. So let's say 150,000 are at a higher premiums for car or home, I should say, for car or home, and it's sort of an average premium per customer of, say, $1,500 for those 150,000, and then the remaining, the remainder of the pool is at your normal 412 premium per customer kind of range. So that gets us to end of the year IFP of 2.6 million. So 600,000 plus your 2 million times by 412 plus that 150,000 people that are at the 1,500. And that's like 1.3 billion in IFP. Premium per customer is your 1.3 billion divided by now the customer base, 2.75 million. You're at 472. So 1.3 billion, remember that, and then 472 in premium per customer. And that's kind of how I've modeled it out. So 1.3 billion, we're just right about at that mark in premiums, and $471 in premium per customer. I've kind of modeled out what potentially maybe quarter over quarter growth could look like in the premium per customer. So pretty big jump. You get to one, I mean, just a few weeks ago, I was talking about, yeah, maybe they get to $1 billion in premium. That's probably like an internal goal. It's $1 billion. And again, maybe they're not going to use as much of the synthetic agents program. Maybe they won't spend all the 150 million out of it, but it's, if they do, or anything close to that amount, then wow, the potential for where premiums could be going is really dramatic. I mean, we're talking like a 60-70% year over year increase back to that kind of level of growth. I think this might be a little too high, a little too aggressive, maybe because they don't spend all those premiums. But if there's anywhere close to it, even close to this, I mean, it's going to be a very exciting 2024 for Lemonade. But now let's keep going. Let's look at 2025. So if I pull up that little sheet again, 2024 we just looked at. But now let's look at 2025. So 2025, again, they have another $140 million in that loan program for the synthetic agents. So say they, again, go max out growth. They have the ability to grow. They have the ability to acquire at good customers, at good acquisition rates. So they say they do that again. $140 million at 80%. So in total, they're going to spend $175 million in total CAC spend. And then let's assume churn just keeps increasing. It was about 18% or even just under was in Q3. So let's say churn on a 12-month basis is about 16%. So that's on 16% on the current 2.75 million. You're talking maybe like 440,000 customers churn. And again, assume the CAC of 140. Then end of 2025 with, you have 2.75 million minus your churn plus 175 million divided by your premium per customer. It gets about 3.5 million customers. And again, of the 700, so we went from 2.5 now to 3.5, so 170 or 750,000 customers again. So say they have that similar amount of growth, 2024, 2025, 750K, 750K of customer increase. So that's beyond what's already churned. Again, assume 150 of those are in that higher premium mix of 1,500. That gets us to kind of a range of, I'm going, 3.35, that the balance minus the 150. Times 472, the new premium per customer rate that we calculated up here, plus the 150,000 people who are at 1,500, it's about 1.8 billion in premiums by the end of 2025. And premium per customer, you do the math there, $514 in premium per customer. So remember that 1.8 billion, 514 end of 2025. That's sort of what I've again plugged in some growth rates here for the customers to get to 3.5 million mark. And for the premium per customer, get that 500 and teen range of 1.8 billion in premiums. Now, I'm not going to go through all expenses, but in my model here, I put in my customer acquisition costs of about $140. I think it's going to be more lumpy. Q3s are generally going to be better because they get more and more of those renters, really people moving for school, etc. in those quarters. But I've just evened it out to 140 rather than trying to differentiate. Maybe these quarters are higher and these ones are lower to an overall average of 140. So for the next, really just looking, I didn't update anything past into 2026, but 2024, 2025, put those numbers in, put the synthetic agent values in, expenses rising just slowly, but dramatically dropping, total expenses as a percentage of gross earned premium dropping from, we're in the 50% range down to 30%. And adjusted EBITDA, then I get going, next year of, minus 160 million. And then the year after of like minus 65 million in 2025, and then hitting that profitability in 2026, like management is talking about. So pretty exciting. And hitting that profitability hard. Like right now, again, I haven't looked at these. I got to tweak these numbers, but we're talking right now it's showing like 100 million in 2026 in profits. So because you're really scaling aggressively into that over the next 2 years, if this is the route they take. So, and I mean, nothing on this channel is financial advice. Of course, everybody knows that. But I have to wonder if they do even at all a bit of a beat on Q4 of this year over what their guidance is, and then if they guide to like 1.1 billion, even 1.1, 1.2, whatever it is in IFP, and then they beat it by maybe they even guide to $1 billion. I still think the market would love that, and then maybe they crush it and go to 1.2 billion or 1.3 billion in IFP by the end of 2024. You gotta wonder when the market's gonna wake up to this opportunity, and we could see. To me, it's like it's just like it's just waiting for the match to be lit. There's going to be maybe this might be Q4, might be Q1, might be Q2, where as long as they keep posting solid results. And the guidance is there. That like to me that like they're just like a rocket ship just waiting to blast off is where we're at, and it's so hilarious the number of people I see on Twitter that have done sort of the 5-minute research on this company and have such shallow analysis and so many things they say wrong that are just literally are completely incorrect about the company. It's hilarious to me, but it's also really encouraging to me as an investor because it tells me, man, this company is super misunderstood. I'm going to keep accumulating shares and wait for the rocket ship to blast off because I think, in my opinion, it is coming. It's just a matter of time. And of course, in there, maybe we have a really bad, there a few years ago, we had the Texas freeze. That could happen. There could be hiccups in this plan. The stock could crash. It could go back to $13 a share like it's dipped down to several times. If the market gets spooked and again, doesn't understand the sort of underlying metrics that are increasing. But to me, the rocket ship is on the launch pad, and it's just a matter of time before it takes off. So when will that happen? It could be weeks away when we get Q4 results. It could be, a year from now. It could be even longer. Could be hiccups along the way. But man, it is an exciting time. I won't really lock this in. This isn't like I don't think they'll necessarily do 1.3 billion in IFP at the end of this year, but this is kind of like the high end, of what I think's possible, and maybe they do even close to that or somewhere in the range of that. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be very well received by the market. So let me know what you think in the comments down below of all of this, and really appreciate that feedback. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, it's in the bag.